enabled.
WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Hello and welcome to this special series. WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. According to data from crypto exchanges, there are approximately 1.5 crore Indians who have invested in cryptocurrencies, holding worth 15,000 crores, with more and more people starting to invest. There are 350 startups that operate in the blockchain and crypto space. This number has increased 4 times in past 2 years. So why are investors finding this segment lucrative? 1, there is a new asset class. 2, because they see good returns. 3, because there is a fear of missing out. And they also understand the technology, the relevance, the future role that it can play. We put spotlight today on awareness, understanding, and the crypto influencers. Nikhil Chanappa wears a lot of hats. He's a host, he's a cryptocurrency enthusiast, he's an MTV India presenter, a music entrepreneur, and a co-creator, Sunburn. Nikhil, hi, such a good time having you. I mean, you do wear a lot of hats, you do a lot of things. And
I was just looking for my crypto hat. I was like, where did I put my crypto hat? Where did I put my
Nikhil,
I enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. I also do understand that you invest in financial markets and you do invest perhaps in cryptocurrencies as well. So what has lured you towards cryptocurrencies?
Well, I started investing when I was still in college. My father used to help me sort of pick out some shares and fixed deposits. So I've been accustomed to the idea of putting something away for a long time. And then as I started to earn a little more as I grew older, I invested in a little bit of real estate as well. And I first invested in cryptocurrency in 2017. And I think I invested arguably like many, many other people who've taken their first step into crypto did invest, which is I basically FOMO'd in right at the top. The worst way to invest in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin was booming at that time. I think it had just about touched $20,000 and it had dropped down a little bit. And I'm like, hey, am I missing out on this? So I went ahead and I invested. And then, of course, Bitcoin kept dropping down. And what I did at that point in time was I started to buy a little bit more as it kept going lower and lower. And then when it went down to about $6,000, I basically gave up. But the good thing was I didn't sell that Bitcoin. The bad thing is I did sell the Bitcoin when the market came back to recover my losses, which I should not have done. So I basically sold at the beginning of this time's bull run. And then I realized I made a mistake. And that was when I started to educate myself a little more about cryptocurrency and what blockchain technology is, what cryptocurrencies are, what are the use cases they help to serve, why it's so easy to get scammed in the digital space as well. So that education started to help me understand how to invest. And I think I'm still learning. But my portfolio has increased from the time that I first invested in 2017. And I have a fairly large portfolio in crypto and other assets as well. So crypto is not the only thing that I invest in. I also invest in the share market and mutual funds and in real estate as well.
Oh, well, right. You know, you haven't just educated yourself, Nikhil, you started educating masses also. You started a podcast, you've been talking about on Twitter, you've been YouTubing a lot of stuff there. So, you know, I saw a question. I was listening to one of your podcasts and you were putting out questions on who is the influencer that you look at when you're buying cryptocurrencies? What is your favorite cryptocurrency? So that's exactly the question I'm putting forth to you.
Oh, what's my favorite cryptocurrency?
Influencer and cryptocurrency.
Firstly, if you're buying cryptocurrency after looking at an influencer, that's the first big mistake you're making. Because I'm actually an influencer by accident. I believe in the technology. By intent, I'm someone who believes in blockchain and the future of cryptocurrencies. I just so happen to have a large following. So when I say something about cryptocurrency, I'm assuming that people will listen and maybe they'll take notice, which is why whenever I do anything on my podcast, I'm very, very careful that anything that I say comes from a place of authenticity and is something that I actually personally believe in. I'm not going to sell what they call an SHI, I won't use the last alphabet letter, coin, just because somebody's given me some money to promote it. And as for what is my favorite coin, my favorite token is anything that has potential and has a lot of development going on. I'm not a big fan of pump and dump coins. I will always have a certain significant part of my portfolio in Bitcoin and also in Ethereum. And I want to see what other coins are being developed, what work is happening on those platforms, and what the future holds for those particular coins before investing in them.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I've seen. You've never pitched on tokens, on cryptocurrencies. You basically do talk about education, awareness, and understanding into various of these aspects. So, what is your sense? I mean, you've been talking to people, you've been tweeting, and there are a lot of retweets. People answer back to you. They ask you questions as well. What is your sense on what is the level of understanding and awareness when we talk about cryptocurrency markets in India? Because you know what, Nikhil, even as equity markets have been around for years now, people still don't understand them too well. You tell them a share and they will go ahead and buy it. They want to ask you on what level should I buy it, what level should I sell, and that's all that they want to know. In cryptocurrencies, while this is really early, this is a very niche market, this is still early stage. What's your sense on awareness that people have?
The sense of awareness is growing considerably. And the reason it's growing is because we've had a correction in the market. You know, when people are making money and you're seeing numbers go up on a screen, and those are essentially just numbers on a screen, everybody's very excited. It's when those numbers collapse and you realize, oh my God, what's going on over here, is when you're actually going to get off the backbenches and come into the front of the class and pay attention to what's going on. So I believe a lot of people have started researching and studying and understanding crypto. Maybe people have started taking classes in technical analysis as well, because that seems to help a lot of people when they're investing after the correction has happened, because they've seen their portfolio go from X to a fraction of X. So while the awareness is low, and I still think that we're barely scraping the tip of the iceberg, I think the people who are invested in crypto now are the ones who are developing a much wider and broader understanding of the subject, of the technology, and also the risks involved in investing in crypto.
Nikhil, do you think the pandemic really helped? Because people were home, they were reading, they were studying, and there was a new asset class that came in, and millennials and people of all age groups and females, the number is just, gaining by the month. Do you think that really worked in its favor?
It definitely has. I mean, firstly, the pandemic made people sit at home, but cryptocurrency is also an asset class that I think that the younger generation finds very exciting because it has so many use cases in that space. It's technology driven, firstly, right? So I think a lot of people are curious about it, and curiosity is great when you're younger, because once you invest your first 500 rupees into a cryptocurrency, then you're kind of hooked onto seeing how it's doing every day. Forget every day. Every 3 hours, you're looking like, oh, it's up 3%. Oh, it's down 8%. Oh my goodness, it's up 15%. And as you do that, you encounter other currencies. And I spoke about this. Never invest in a currency that you see skyrocketing. It's like trying to catch a flying dagger. You're going to get hurt very badly. So as more and more people are getting into it, and they're getting into it younger, I think the awareness of the asset class is going to grow. And I've always said this, innovation and change always happens with the younger generation. I have seen very few good ideas come out of 60-year-olds. I see lots of great ideas, many of them foolish, come out of 16 and 18-year-olds. But some of those foolish ideas eventually become stunning. So the fact that the younger generation is adopting cryptocurrency and taking the time and the trouble to learn about it and study about it, because when you've got $500 to spend, you can either, take your significant other out on a date, or you can invest in it. And if you're going to invest in it, if you've got that mindset, I'm assuming you're going to learn a little more about it and not just go and buy Dogecoin. I mean, I have some Dogecoin. I have Shiba Inu as well, but that is what I call that's my money to burn. If it completely evaporates, I'm okay with it. But don't invest a significant amount of your portfolio in a coin that has no fundamentals, no research, and just a bunch of people tweeting about it. Because if your portfolio drops because of an Elon Musk tweet, then the problem is not Elon Musk. The problem is you. You.
Oh, well, absolutely. FOMO to thrills to tweets and what not moves this market. But with that, we'll go for a very short break. When we come back, we'll also talk about on what kind of investments have we seen here, what is the regulatory aspect and the global learnings on this as well. Don't go anywhere.
WazirX and CNBC TV 18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. WazirX and CNBC TV 18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Welcome back. We have Nikhil Channappa on the show, and he's rocking the conversation as always. Nikhil, it's called cryptocurrency for a reason. It's cryptographic currency, and while the weaker economies are adopting it as a currency, the developing countries, the developed countries are looking at that as an asset class, as a way of investment, as perhaps a future of currencies, but that is still something that the countries are working with right now. So when it comes to the Indian markets as well, and when you look at the regulatory aspect of it, is that something that bothers the enthusiasts and the investors?
Well, it's a complicated question to answer because, of course, it depends on personal choice and what you want to kind of risk in a space that is, as of now, unregulated. But having said that, I was recently informed that rideshare apps like Ola and Uber are unregulated as well. And I was also reminded that unless you have something to regulate, how will you bring about regulation? So personally, I think that the fact that all the cryptocurrency platforms, the exchanges and the trading platforms insist that you do your KYC is a step in the right direction. The fact that they're able to track every single transaction that you make, buy or sell, and where the money is coming from, and it can only go into your registered bank account and be taken out of your registered bank account, step in the right direction. The fact that the government has now stepped away from saying we're going to ban this to saying we're going to look at it, I think is again a step in the right direction, because India as a nation and as a growing economy, I don't think we can afford to sit back and allow this to pass us. Just like we couldn't have sat back and allowed the internet to pass us. And just like the internet gave rise to amazing companies like Infosys and HCL and Wipro, I think cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology are also going to give rise to terrific partnerships and brands and companies being built out of India. Because let's face it, we're a nation of geeks and nerds. I say that proudly. We're a very intelligent, forward-thinking nation. And I think that we can develop great technology on Web 3.0 and on blockchain technology. So the fact that the government is saying that we're looking at it is a great step. And I really do think that regulation needs to come in. Regulation needs to ensure that any kind of black money that's being laundered through crypto needs to be weeded out instantly, urgently. And crypto needs to be taxed. It needs to be a source of revenue for the government.
Oh, well, some parts of internet also are not regulated until now. So, yes, that's a whole other debate. But you know what, Nikhil, I was reading a lot of stories on how for a country like India, where we hoard gold, where we buy gold at smallest of, an occasion, there was a wedding and the bride was gifted cryptocurrency by the parent. People have been buying cryptocurrency instead of buying gold. So we have seen that debate on whether cryptocurrency is eating into market share of gold as well. You think a country as cultural as ours and gold as relevant to us as it has been for years, that could be changing?
I think that change will definitely happen. Although I think it'll be foolish for us to say that, Bitcoin, which is being called digital gold, is going to completely wipe out gold. I think gold has its own use case. Gold is also a valuable asset. I don't invest in gold shares and in gold bonds. I invest in physical gold. And I also invest in Bitcoin. And I think both of them are sensible investments. You just have to decide which part of your portfolio and how much of your portfolio you want to allocate to either. The fact that, there's so many stories of how through World War II, through pandemics, through disease and famine, how a gold coin or a gold bangle was able to see a family through. It led to your survival at some point in time, which is why I don't think gold is going away anytime soon. It's been around for 5,000 years. But there definitely is a strong case for Bitcoin to be seen as a store of value going forward, considering all the different sort of intrinsic qualities and characteristics it has as an asset class.
Nikhil, also the usual wealth advisors, financial advisors do not advise on cryptocurrencies, even as we've seen a lot of people invest into this space. HNIs as well getting here. Formally, officially, not too many of them advise. Is that also one of the reasons that you see people picking up on not so credible coins, perhaps?
Again, difficult to answer, Manisha, because, people have different ideas and motivations and reasons for investing in different things. Some people believe that they should never buy land, but they will buy apartments because it's more secure, and land is kind of more difficult to kind of keep a hold on because, it gets occupied by other people and encroached upon. And why some people are investing in crypto and why others are choosing to hold back, I think those reasons are more personal. I don't see any financial reason for not investing in a solid cryptocurrency with strong fundamentals, with great development happening. If you're going to invest in Infosys because you believe in the work that they're doing, why would you not invest in a crypto platform or a token that is doing similar work in a parallel technological space? I don't see the reason why you wouldn't do that.
Oh, absolutely. Your risk-taking appetite is what really defines on what you would put money in and what you think can be a future source of income there. But, a lot of financial independence that we talk about right now and the kind of learnings that there are and the kind of decentralization that we're talking about, not just in sense of cryptocurrencies, but NFTs, gaming, you talk about it and world is turning digital. Do you think, how would you look at next 5 to 10 years when we talk about this space?
Well, I actually want to talk about the emancipation of women. I want to talk about how cryptocurrency can empower women and make them financially independent. I mean, it's been long known. My mom did it. My grandmom did it. Women in India for many, many years, for centuries, have always squirreled away money and kept it aside for a rainy day. And sometimes this is money that the rest of the family didn't know about. This was the woman's way of safeguarding the future of the family if there was any sort of crisis or catastrophe. I don't know whether it's happened in your family as well, but it certainly happened in mine. When demonetization happened, I read articles about how a lot of women lost money that they'd squirreled away for decades because they had no way of showing that this was white money. And this was invariably money that was given to them by their husbands for household expenses and household expenditures. And they squirreled away a portion of it and kind of kept putting it away into the mattress. And all of a sudden that money had no value and they had to go and try and trade it in and exchange it. Now, if women can invest that into cryptocurrency, I believe it would give them a certain degree of financial independence. And that leads towards the further emancipation of women, which for me is vital, is crucial for society to progress and for us to grow as a nation. So that's something that I'm hoping will happen more of. I mean, I would like to see more people study, understand, and embrace cryptocurrency and the technology that surrounds it. But I think particularly women should take a look at this. And I'd be super happy if blockchain technology was a class that was taught to people in their 8th, 9th, and 10th standards.
Oh, that would be good. That is something I'm waiting to see. So, Nikhil, let me ask you...
Not necessarily cryptocurrency, but blockchain technology. And
technology, and the decentralization.
Exactly. I mean, governments are now are storing degree certificates. I just read an article that, the Maharashtra government is going to put degree certificates on blockchain technology so that the certificates can't be copied. I did a COVID test the other day, and that COVID result is stored on a blockchain. So there are definitely use cases that the government is using right now. We just need to figure out a way of making people aware of what this technology is and how it's going to benefit us individually and as a nation.
All right. Well, absolutely. Cryptocurrency is a token, and the whole thing really is about the technology itself, the platform that a lot of smart contracts and decentralization work is happening, finance is happening, etc. So, Nikhil, let me put some quick questions to you. What are your top 5 cryptocurrencies? Let's begin with that.
This is not financial advice.
It is not.
Right?
No.
And to underline the fact that this is not financial advice, I want to say that my top cryptocurrency is Dogecoin because it's a joke coin. I believe that at some point in time, Doge will go to a number that it hasn't gone before. Okay? And again, I'll say this. The reason I'm saying Doge is my number 1 coin is because what I'm saying is not financial advice, right? Realistically speaking, it's not Doge. Right. I have some Doge, by the way. I still think that Bitcoin and the fact that more development is now starting to happen on layer 2 over Bitcoin is great. I'd like to see more of that happening. Ethereum, because of the amount of development that's happening on it, is fantastic. Solana, the fact that it solves the blockchain trilemma is something to look forward to in the future. And I'm a big fan of Matic. I'm a big fan of the Indian boys who put Matic together, and I'm hoping that it'll grow and it'll continue to attract more people to its platform and develop more use cases and more projects get built on it.
Oh, well, absolutely. I was talking to them the other day, and Polygon Studio is now coming out with NFTs and gaming, and you can earn while you play and you can earn while you watch advertisements, etc. So yeah, it's a whole new world. Have you done that recently?
NFTs?
Yeah. Have you played games? Have you earned? Have you watched advertisements which pass on cryptocurrencies into your wallet? I mean, that's an easy way of earning money.
I know it is, but video games is something that for some reason never held any attraction towards me. But I am also closely watching the Mana token, and I think that has huge potential going forward. And I think VET will go far.
All right, that's
just a hunch.
That's a list of cryptocurrencies there. So tell me one more thing. There are 4 ways of looking at a cryptocurrency, whether it's an asset, a currency, utility, or security. How would you put an order to that?
It just depends on what you want to invest in. I mean, for me, it's important to understand what is the use case that sort of calls out to you and makes you excited about it. And the example that I can give you is kind of between Facebook and Snapchat. You know, there's an entire generation of people that love Facebook and how it worked, and there's a younger generation that's like, Facebook, what? Who the hell is still on Facebook? I'm on Snapchat. Right. So you've got to find a project and a token that works for you, that you believe in. I think that's important. From an asset perspective, you don't need to look beyond Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Nikhil, also a final question then. You know, people have short-term and they have long-term financial targets, and that's how they do investments also. I know of a lot of people who have started diversifying into this as a portfolio, putting aside some money for this, and this is various age groups really. You said you invest, so when you look at a shorter term, when you look at a longer term horizon, how are you featuring cryptocurrencies within that?
I'm not a person who pays a lot of attention to daily trading and daily markets. That's not my thing. So I do a lot of SIPs in the mutual fund space. I'll buy some shares if the market dips, and I believe in the company and the project. And it's very much the same with cryptocurrency as well. I'm in it for the long term. But having said that, I don't think there's anything wrong in going after a hunch and trying to flip a coin. But the only advice that I'd give people is, when you flip a coin, you really need to understand when to sell, because that's sometimes the hardest thing. You get very excited when you see that your coin has gone 2x or 5x or 10x, but if you don't sell it and it drops back down to 5x, then you're kicking yourself. So it's very important, if you're in the space of flipping an altcoin, or what they call an SHI coin, that you don't get too greedy. Sell once you've made a profit, even if that coin goes to significantly higher than the value that you sold it at, and just be happy with it. I mean, there's this concept that I have of having your accounting balance and your emotional balance. And I think both of those need to be topped up from time to time. So you trade with your accounting balance, but make a profit and keep your emotional account also kind of sort of topped up and keep yourself happy.
Okay, that's a lot of sane advice coming in from Nikhil Chunappa. Nikhil, thank you so much for joining us. That has been a very fun, aware and educative conversation with Nikhil Chunappa. Thank you so much for your time.
WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.